6 weeks, 42 days. Election day is right around the corner. And in some states, voters are already headed to the polls. But Donald Trump is delivering some mixed messages about early voting, encouraging it in one breath and then pushing baseless conspiracies about doing so in another. Here's what he said last night in Pennsylvania.
Early voting begins in Pennsylvania over the next 2 weeks, and we need each and every one of you to go out. Just don't take anything for granted. We got to get out and vote, and you can start right away. You know that, right? Now we have this stupid stuff where you can vote 45 days early. I wonder what the hell happens during that 45. Let's move see these votes? We've got about 1 million votes in there. Let's move them. We're fixing the air conditioner in the room, right? No, it's terrible. What happened the last time was disgraceful, including right here. But we're not going to let it happen again. Too big to rig, right?
Now, there's nothing wrong with early voting, which is why Donald Trump's own campaign is trying to get their supporters to the polls right now. It is a deadlocked race. And to give you more on that, let's go right now to CNN's David Chalian, who is with me at the Magic Wall with our brand new numbers.
6 weeks to go, as you said, 42 days, and it doesn't get much closer than this, Dana. This is among likely voters. No clear leader within the margin of error. Kamala Harris at 48% support. Donald Trump at 47% support among likely voters, according to this brand new poll by SSRS. Take a look here. Most important issue among likely voters, far and away, it's the economy. 41% say so. Protecting democracy is second at 21%. Immigration and abortion rights round out the double-digit support categories. And on issue number one, you mentioned Donald Trump going down to Georgia today. Take a look at Trump's advantage on the economy. 50% of likely voters say they trust him to handle the economy more than Harris. Only 39% of likely voters say so of Harris, again, on issue number one.
I mean, it is really stunning if you think about these numbers. 20% more of voters say that they are worried about the economy, and that's their number one issue more than anybody else. And look at his lead on this. So then that begs the question, David, why is it such a tight race?
Well, yes, exactly. Because Trump, first of all, has some real warning signs on some attributes like his temperament or his empathy and ability to convince voters he understands their needs. But also in the coalition piece of this, look at this gender gap, okay? Among likely voters, Kamala Harris has a 10-point advantage among female voters, 53% to 43%. Donald Trump has a 9-point advantage among male voters. So you see here, that is a 19-point gender gap between his support for men and her support for women. But Dana, drill down into independent voters, okay? Among likely independent voters, her advantage with female independents grows. It's a 15-point advantage, 51 to 36. And his advantage with independent male voters comes down a bit. So the gender gap increases to her advantage among the critical middle of the electorate, these likely independent voters. Take a look here. Also, we asked, views are so extreme that those views will threaten the country. 48% of likely voters say yes to Donald Trump, that his views are so extreme that they threaten the country. 35% say so of Kamala Harris. A chunk of these folks, Dana, actually are still voting for Donald Trump, even though they think his views are extreme and threaten the country. And here's one other benefit for Harris. You say, what's keeping it close? 43% of likely voters say that Harris has the trust factor of the American people to unite the country. Only 30% say that about Donald Trump.
What are the warning signs for Harris besides the economy, which you started with?
Yes, besides the economy, there are pieces of the coalition that are voters. Among black voters, Harris has a 63 percentage point advantage. Now, that's huge. That's a big advantage, but it's not the 75-point advantage that Joe Biden had in the 2020 exit polls. Similar story here, even more so among Latino voters. In our poll, Harris has a 19 percentage point advantage among likely Latino voters in this poll, but Biden in 2020, according to the exit polls, had a 33-point advantage among Latinos. And we should note, while it is getting late now, people are voting, and this race is locking in to some extent, there are still persuadable voters here. So 86% tell us in our poll their mind is made up. And again, these are likely voters. 12% say they could change their mind, and only 2% of the people in this poll say they don't have a first choice of a presidential candidate. So it's about a 14% range that could still be persuaded to support one candidate or the other, Dana.
So that's why there's so few persuadable voters. That's why you're seeing so much of the focus on getting at the people who already say that they support either candidate. David, really, really fascinating new polling. We have a lot to dig in with our three excellent journalists here. The Washington Post's Josh Dawsey, Lift Our Voices co-founder and journalist Gretchen Carlson, and CNN's Eva McKend. Josh, you talk to your sources in both camps all day, every day. What do you think they're going to take away from what David just reported?
Well, I think the numbers are consistent with what you see in other polls and a lot of the internal polling, right? If you talk to folks in Trump world, they think they're basically in the margin of error in most of the states. They see their numbers as a little bit better than the public polls, but they know that they're behind in some of these states. They certainly see a gender gap, as you delineated there. I think what they believe is that their gender gap with men is better, that they are going to do even better than that polling shows with men, with black men. I guess we will see if that's true or not, but that's what you hear from them a lot. I think the way they look at where the numbers are right now is they've had some missed opportunities. The month of August, by all accounts, was not his best month. The debate performance, I think most people who are honest in his world would say she did better. I think his speech went a little too long at the convention, but that it's a tied race and it's their race to lose still, and that he can still win. And that's optimism I hear from their orbit, even as you see Kamala Harris doing better in a lot of ways than Joe Biden was against him.
So you mentioned the gender gap. Gretchen, I want you to listen to what Donald Trump said yesterday in Indiana, Pennsylvania about women.
I always thought women liked me. I never thought I had a problem. But the fake news keeps saying women don't like me. I don't believe it. I am your protector. I want to be your protector. As president, I have to be your protector. I hope you don't make too much of it. I hope the fake news doesn't go, oh, he wants to be their protector. Well, I am. As president, I have to be your protector.
I am your protector.
Well, I think I'm going to offend Donald Trump in saying, as a woman, I don't need him to protect me. I'm fine on my own. And I think a lot of other women feel that way. I did think, though, that this was very interesting because up until now, Donald Trump has fed up red meat to the base. Last night, I felt like that was a bit of an olive branch to independent women to say, suburban moms, independents, look at me, I'm here for you. He talked about the safety of women, the health of women. I mean, there's 2 women in Georgia who would argue against that based on what's happened to them with regard to abortion. And he's a little bit like the Handmaid's Tale to me, calling himself a protector of women. It makes you wonder what else is going to happen to women if Donald Trump is elected.